Welcome back to some Old World Fanatics painting time. This is me painting up a Orc Araboy for the upcoming Orc and Goblin Tribes release for the Old World. We're going all contrast paints mainly, except for some sort of the metallics and things, just a heavy zenithal. And I love this Mantis Warriors green for the skin. If you're just starting out with contrast paints, like it's a great skin for orcs, basically. You can just one coat and leave it. In this later on, we'll actually add a little bit of other highlights, but you don't have to do that, especially if you're doing hordes of these orc boys. It pretty much looks perfect for orc flesh, I think. Maybe not black orcs, but for these guys. I guess the other thing to note, and again, if you are sort of new at painting, and hence why you're looking at this sort of paint video, I'm just using a number 2 Windsor Series 7 for the entire miniature. The view here really is you should be using larger brushes, not smaller ones, especially for contrast paint because they hold a lot more paint, and you do need more paint with contrast. You're loading the brush up more to get it to sit into the recesses a little bit. Obviously, contrasts probably aren't really a beginner's paint, ironically, but yeah, I mean, you can see how super quick. You get a good result, just one pass, which is really good with these guys. These sculpts are so old, it's actually a little bit hard sometimes to get the details. So I think there's a few places where I've missed some, and I patch it back up. But don't worry about that if you do it as well. Snakebite leather for just some of the clothes, just the trim of his. I guess it's a skirt. I'm not sure I would say that to an orc, but just that sort of light brown color. Obviously any type of brown or black even, but I'm going to use black for the main sort of leathery armor stuff. So obviously you can choose whatever you would like, but the snakebite leather I thought looked okay. This Agros Dunes, I love it. It's really light color leather. I'm using that for the quiver, and also the most of the wood on the bow just is a bit of a lighter color. It's good for that sort of stuff, I find. Just break up the leathery sort of colors that you obviously find with a lot of these old fantasy models. And the good thing too, we're leaving the dark colors to last, so that way you can go over the edges here, because you don't have to be too worried about it, because we're going to cover that up with some silver. Wildwood is a dark contrast paint. I'm using that for all the boots, these little leather braces, arm brace things there, or I think also his pouch, which you'll see in a minute. It's a pretty dark paint, so again, if you went over some of that with the green, you can generally just go over the top of it. Worst case, let it dry, see if you see a bit of the green, and just go back over it again with the wildwood. Also, you'll notice my base is already textured. It's to match in with my existing orcs. So for you, if you're starting out, you might, you don't even bother about texture. Probably just use the texture paint that a lot of the companies have, like Games Workshop and others. Otherwise, you've got to do these multiple sort of coats, which you'll see me doing near the end of this video. Yeah, and his little pouch gets done wildwood as well. You could probably even mix it up between, 10 or how many archers you want to do. Just to sort of that, so it doesn't look all the same. So yeah, Black Templar is good. It's pretty much black, but it's a little light. It's not the blackest contrast paint, so it sort of is a good way to make it look a little black, but a little grey as well, and just add that variability in that you sort of want when you're using contrast paints. So yeah, his whole basic shirt and that armor plate at the front gets that. We'll go back over that with some silver, but silver obviously generally goes better over black. But you don't have to cover. If there was other large parts of armor, you can just go straight on I think it's bolt gun. Actually, I don't know what silver. We'll see which silver I use. I can't remember which, but it's a dark one. I also did his mouth there, just inside, because there's a fair bit down the back of his throat that you sort of need to darken up. And I tried to miss his tongue, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to use a non-contrast paint for his tongue, just a pink. But they are super quickly. Obviously, I'm just doing this one guy, but you could easily batch paint 10 of these in an evening, I think. Here, I've switched to just a crappy dry brush just to whack down the same black contrast over this sand, just because generally you wouldn't need to do this if you're undercoated black, or if you're not even using this sort of sand method. It's a bit old school. But because of the zenithal, it's made it really white, so I'm just using the black just to get in there, so then I can dry brush some other stuff later. Yeah, so this is the first non-contrast, just to make his tongue pink. This red, you could use whatever really. This is for the feathers on his arrow, on the arrow. It's pretty crappy cast there, so you basically use anything. I was thinking a grey, a yellow, whatever. You can't really see it anyway, but I just decided to go red for this guy just to see what that looked like. Sorry, Lead Belcher, that's the guy. Yeah, the base colour. So this is where we'll go on his breastplate thing there, plus like his earring and the metal parts on his bow. Generally don't have to sort of wet palette these metallics, but I mean I do too. I do anyway sometimes, just to thin it out. Not thin it out, but just I guess get it off my brush so it's not clumped. It's a pretty thick paint. Not sure what else to say about the metallics. Obviously, most of my metallics are done with this, and then a wash of Nuln Oil and a highlight of some other lighter silver. I think we're using Storm Host Silver in this, but again, any that you have is fine. This is where I think doing this little bit on his bow there, I realised I'd missed some wild wood on his boot, but I just fixed that up, probably off camera, I can't remember, and his belt buckle. Xandri Dust, again, when we're getting into these details, so like his teeth, all the teeth and fingernails, this is my method, it's pretty common, I think, just Xandri Dust, some Agrax, and then, you can lighten it up a couple of different shades, but I think I just go straight into the Sharpie bone on sort of his teeth. Again, if you're doing characters, you'd probably do more layers than that, but for, just some archers who are going to die and they're pretty crap, and are you even going to use them? Although orc skirmishing, bowmen, warbow guys, probably are going to be useful in the old world, so that's why I'm painting a few up. Haven't used them yet, but I thought I might as well get them out and start painting them. Evil Sons, I always use that just for the eyes, dot the two eyes in there. And then, Agraxing his, now the bone, like his teeth and his fingernails and stuff. And the good thing is you can sort of go a little bit over. Again, with like contrast paints, the washes really get in there, let it flow around and then move it around because you sort of adds that depth around his mouth. Nuln Oil again for all the metal. You can even throw this, more over his leather shirt as well. Now this is optional. This sort of can mix in some Kislev flesh more and more into that contrast paint. Probably doesn't work too good on this guy. On the other one it did. And you can sort of really just lighten up around his mouth and his forehead and his ear tips and stuff like that. If you concentrate just on the face, that usually makes the figure look way better. You don't have to do it everywhere. I think I do touch some of his, on his knuckles, on his hand, on his bow hands, pretty good. But yeah, you can touch his knees and his shoulders if you want as well. It doesn't come great on it doesn't look too much of a difference on this video I found, but in real life you do see sort of that variability that you sort of want to get on the face. Totally optional. The Mantis Warrior Green is an awesome flesh colour, just out of the pot really. And then he's almost pretty much done. Just use Sharpie bone, just to highlight his teeth. Again, you could use a couple of different, Sharpie bone to Screaming Skull to white if you really want to and stuff like that. But I think for rank and file, it's not really worth it. Stormhost Silver. This is a little bit annoying. You've got to you can just rough up his armor plate, but then all those little dots on the leather, so it takes a little bit, but you go through and you can see it. There's a couple of ones like that one where I just totally whiff and miss the dot. You can also, sort of more load up on the flat of the brush and then sort of touch it across, which you'll see further. I think on the back it's a bit easier. When on a flat surface, those dots stand out, so they're a lot easier to do just on the flat of the brush. But yeah, when it was on that curvy one, you sort of pick them out. But the cool thing is, what I've found is, hey, it doesn't really matter the rank and file, but you can come back over with Nuln Oil and stuff and just clean it up. Oh, he does have a little belt, which I didn't really, just for simplicity, I didn't sort of care about brushing separate with contrast, so then I just pick it out with some darker brown. Use whatever you want, leave it black, it doesn't really matter, you hardly see it. Now, this would be Steel Legion Drab if you're G-Dub. I've always used just Vallejo, Terra Earth or whatever. Again, I'm matching it into my existing collection, and then I forget to put paint under the camera. Sorry, guys. So yeah, my usual old orc stuff was all just black undercoated and then dry brushed this Terra Earth with a couple of layers of not Xandri dust, something Carrick stone or something, and Talaran Earth. I can't remember, one of them, and then up to Sharpty bone, usually just on the sand. So I've sort of I do that a little bit with the Sharpty bone, and now I'm starting also to add a little bit of this Martian Earth ready sort of dry brush in there as well, because I'm adding a few red tufts, getting ready for some squigs to go into the army. Apart from that, yeah, whack some PVA down or whatever you've got, and flock them how you want to do it. I'm just putting some of the sort of static grass collection I'd made up, and then whack on a tuft as well. I've got different coloured tufts going into some red tufts, as I said, for sort of the night goblins and the squigs. So just this guy only gets one tuft, but obviously I'm just randomise it around, and that's pretty much him. As I said, this guy took me easily about half an hour, and that's filming. You'd have no trouble, I think, smashing 10 out. I wouldn't in an evening or so. So yeah, came out okay. Hope you enjoy.